Hey guys, welcome to the channel, welcome to another video. It's that time of the weekend, Premier League predictions time. You know the drill by now. This is the video where I go through each and every single game that is coming up in the next round of Premier League fixtures. I talk about them, analyse them, and of course give my overall predictions on how I think each and every single game will finish come the final whistle this weekend. Massive games coming up. The importance level is growing as we, of course, tick down the rest of the games till the end of the season. And like I say, this is where we talk about the games, analyse them, and give overall predictions of how I think each and every single game will line up, including, of course, a monumental, massive game this weekend at the Emirates Stadium between Arsenal and Liverpool, of course. Before we get into all of that, though, I would like to remind us, please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things always and forever greatly appreciated. And, of course, I encourage you guys to get involved in the comments section down below. Let me know your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it. That make for great, interesting reading down below. Of course, mainly your predictions, of course. This is, after all, a Premier League predictions video, so do get involved. I do encourage you. But without further ado, let's get on with the video. Let's get on with the predictions. And first and foremost, we have got Saturday's lunchtime kickoff between Everton and Tottenham. And I've gone with a 2-1 victory in favour of the away side here. I think Spurs will get the job done overall. And I think that they'll get the 3 points on the day. That isn't to say that isn't out of the realms of possibility for Everton to get something. We know that at home they can be a little bit more difficult to play against. Sean Dyche likes to set his side up in a typical kind of Sean Dyche way. And I feel like if it is going to be a low block that Everton go for, it could really frustrate Tottenham at times. But I do think with the return of James Maddison, with the form of Richarlison as well, I still don't rate the guy, but I have to admit, he has been obviously getting the goals recently. I think Tottenham, by some way, shape or form, will get the job done. Of course, Tottenham are looking to make it back-to-back wins this week following the victory against Brentford midweek. Everton are looking to bounce back from a goalless draw against Fulham. Like I say, it isn't out of realms of possibility for Everton to get something, and they could really frustrate Tottenham here with a low block if they are to go that way. And obviously, Tottenham do leak goals, so maybe on the counter-attack or maybe by some sort of set piece, maybe Everton could get something from that particular vein of attack. But overall, I do expect Tottenham to get the job done. Maybe Richarlison comes back to haunt his former club. Maybe that is going to be the possibility. And like I say, with Maddison back, I would expect him to have the capabilities to unlock what I would imagine will be a tight, resolute and stubborn Everton defence. Which is why I've gone with a 2-1 scoreline in favour of Tottenham Hotspur for them to get the 3 points. And of course, they're going to try and obviously gain a stranglehold of that top 4 spot at the expense of Aston Villa, who they leapfrogged earlier this week in the table. So Tottenham to win there. Next up, we have got Brighton against Crystal Palace. Huge game this one, an interesting one as well. Brighton will be looking to bounce back from that humiliating 4-0 thrashing that they got at the hands of Luton midweek. Absolutely surprising result, with all due respect, but Brighton were looking to bounce back here, and I do feel like their home form is much better than their away form. Against Crystal Palace, a team that needs results. They, of course, got a victory midweek, a hard-fought victory against Sheffield United. 3-2 it finished to Roy Hodgson's side. But we know that away from home, they can be a little bit awkward. This one has all the makings for an awkward game. Brighton, we know, should go into this one as the favourites. We know, being at home, Brighton should be the favourites as well. But has midweek thrown a bit of a spanner in the works for most of you giving your predictions in this one. I still think Brighton will get the job done. I still think that although Brighton will do leak goals, and obviously the likes of Eze and Elise will certainly be the ones to look out for as far as danger men are concerned for Palace, I still think Brighton will get the job done. So I've gone with a 3-1 victory in favour of the Seagulls. And yeah, Roberto De Zerbi's side to get back to winning ways and bounce back from that kind of embarrassing midweek defeat to Luton, with all due respect. Next up, Burnley taking on Fulham at Turf Moor. I've gone with 1-1. I really couldn't decide which way this game was going to go. This game could have genuinely gone any which way, in my opinion. And it isn't out of realms of possibility for either side to win this. Like I say, any which way this result goes wouldn't have genuinely surprised me. I've gone with a 1-1 draw. I called it down the middle. I think Burnley, I've said it all season. They play some good stuff at times, Burnley. For the kind of side that they are, they play some good stuff at times. They just don't have enough quality in the vital areas to not only stop leaking stupid goals, but to also score them. Fulham, you never know what kind of Fulham side you're going to get. Fulham could turn up and be absolutely lethal, and they could be brilliant to watch, and they could be easy on the eye, and they could actually absolutely wipe the floor with Burnley. Or they could be very awkward and difficult, and they could actually be lethargic and boring and just play out the kind of way that they have been doing the past few games. Again, awkward to call. If I was leaning towards more of a winner, I'd be leaning more towards Fulham. However, I think Burnley can get something from this game, which is why I've gone for 1-1, a point apiece, and a point that doesn't really satisfy either club, considering where they currently are in the table. Next up, Newcastle against Luton. I've gone with a 3-1 victory in favour of Newcastle this one. I cannot see Luton winning this game. I know that I said that last time out when they faced Brighton, but I feel like the difference here is that this is a Newcastle side that at home are brilliant. At home, Newcastle are strong. And I feel like although Luton will of course give it everything they've got, as they always tend to do, I just feel Newcastle will have too much to overpower the Hatters in this situation, and that is why I've gone with a Newcastle victory. Should be one of the more favourable games to call this week, but again, nothing's ever a foregone conclusion. I would expect Luton to play their hearts out like they do week in, week out, but for Eddie Howe's side to just have enough about them to obviously get the victory and get the 3 points. Alexander Isak in particular, if he is fit to be on the score sheet on that one. Next up, Sheffield United are taking on Aston Villa at Bramall Lane. I believe this is the Saturday evening kickoff, so we've got a bit of a Midlands clash with this one. I've gone with a Villa win. I've gone with Villa to win 2-1. I know Villa's away form isn't exactly the best, and I know that they will obviously want to bounce back from that midweek defeat against Newcastle. But I just feel like Aston Villa will have too much for Sheffield United to handle. Now, it wasn't that long ago, of course, that these two sides last played each other, and it, of course, finished 1-1 in quite controversial circumstances. But at the same time, I think Aston Villa will have no issue whatsoever in dispatching of Sheffield United in this one. I know that Sheffield United will have their own will pose some food for thought for Aston Villa. I'm not expecting it to be completely one-way traffic, but I think when it comes down to the quality on show and obviously the clinical edge in front of goal, I would expect Aston Villa to take that over Sheffield United, which is why I've gone with a 2-1 victory in favour of Unai Emery's side. Villa to get back to winning ways, and for them to obviously try and obviously put more pressure on Tottenham. I know that Tottenham played before them, of course, but after losing out on the top 4 spot this week, I'd expect them to keep the pressure going. Moving on to Sunday's games. First up, we are at the Vitality Stadium for Bournemouth taking on Nottingham Forest. This one is a very intriguing one because obviously Forest are still getting used to things under Nuno Espirito Santo, their new manager. They look good at times, they look poor at times. It's looking like a completely mixed, inconsistent bag of performances, and even in that bag of performances, the performances are still inconsistent. Bournemouth were going strong. The wheels have somewhat fell off their season a little bit in recent weeks. So again, this result could go any which way, but I have given the edge in the slightest of edges to Bournemouth, being the home side, and seeing how Forest have been these past few games. I feel like Bournemouth are the more reliable team to go for in this situation. Again, only giving them the slight edge. I've only gone for a 2-1 victory in favour of Bournemouth. They're very difficult to call this week for the most part in these games. So I've gone with Bournemouth to get the slight edge. Dominic Solanke maybe to be back amongst the goals. But yeah, in recent weeks we have seen Bournemouth somewhat hit and miss, so to speak, in inconsistent matters. And again, they're coming up against another inconsistent team in Nottingham Forest. So this one could go any which way. But I am very intrigued to see how this game will go. I think Bournemouth will obviously have the lion's share of possession, and Forest will look to hit the cherries on the counter-attack, and it really could make for an intriguing game in that sense. A game that, again, could go a little bit under the radar, but a game that Forest definitely need to win, but I just don't see it happening in this game in particular. So I've gone with a Bournemouth victory there. Next up, Chelsea against Wolves. Now, this game could genuinely go any which way. And I mean that because Chelsea are very, very awkward, but they're strong at home. I mean that because Wolves play some very good football, but they struggle sometimes to score the goals to round off their good footballing performances. This one could go any which way. It's an awkward game. Chelsea will want to bounce back after that dismal display against Liverpool midweek. Wolves, at the time of recording, are playing tonight against Manchester United. The score, like I say, unknown. Maybe the extra day's rest might have actually benefited Chelsea in this matter. Who knows? Maybe that could be a factor in things. But it's going to be another awkward game. It's going to be another interesting game. It's going to be another awkward game. Would love to see how this game is going to go. Because, again, I feel like Chelsea, for the most part, the performances are decent. I know midweek against Liverpool, they were neutralised in a lot of their different avenues of attack. But for the most part, their performances haven't been that bad. It's just been about finishing off their chances. And I feel like this could be a game where both of these sides may have the same issue. They both play some good football, but they both suffer with a lack of a clinical edge. And that could happen again on Sunday. Either side could go on to win it. It genuinely wouldn't shock me. If I was leaning towards more of a winner, I probably would be leaning more towards Chelsea with them being at home. I know they've actually been in some good form in recent weeks. But I feel like when push comes to shove and when Wolves go up against some of the bigger teams in the division, I do feel like Wolves turn it on a little bit. And they do give the bigger teams a run for their money and plenty of food for thought. So, with that being said, although I will be leaning more towards a Chelsea victory, I am going to go more with a draw and say that this game will end 1-1 come the final whistle. But again, not entirely confident. But again, it could be a very intriguing game and a very entertaining game at that on the show for your Sunday afternoon viewing. Next up, Manchester United are taking on West Ham United. I've gone for a 2-1 victory in favour of West Ham. Now, judging United games is always going to be difficult, especially with the current state of things. United still in the top 8 as things stand. Obviously, that could change or whatever, given the result tonight. Still there, thereabouts. They do tend to pick up these very good victories and very good wins from out of nowhere. It normally relies on a moment of brilliance, 9 times out of 10. A moment of individual play, individual skill. You see flashes and glimpses of very good team performances from time to time. We saw that against the likes of, Chelsea and so on and so forth. But they leak goals. West Ham can be extremely awkward against the bigger teams. More so at home than away, I grant you. But West Ham can be very awkward and difficult. And one thing we know about West Ham is that they'll allow you to have the ball. It's about whether or not you can break them down and whether or not you can stop them on the counter-attack. And we know that West Ham can be very lethal on the counter-attack. And Man United found that out firsthand earlier on this season when West Ham beat them in the reverse fixture of this particular game earlier on in the campaign. It wouldn't shock me whichever way this game goes. Like I say, Man United have the players, match winners, to obviously get the job done. But West Ham have the game plan. They have the game plan and they know how their game plan is going to be executed. And their game plan can be executed to perfection at times, or it could completely fall apart. I'm going to back that it actually is executed to pretty much perfection and that West Ham get the job done in this one. I'm going to say that West Ham win this game by 2-1. I feel like it's going to be Man United having the lion's share of possession, West Ham waiting to pick their moments and win the ball back to then launch a counter-attack, which Man United will have to deal with. And last weekend's Newport, they somewhat struggled in that department, but I feel like West Ham probably could be a better opposition for them. Better opposition, obviously, compared to Newport, obviously, to obviously be more clinical on the counter-attack, should I say. Get my words out properly there. So that's why I've gone with West Ham to win, but again, it wouldn't shock me whichever way this result goes. Our penultimate game, we're jumping ahead to Monday night's encounter. We've got Brentford against Manchester City. Now, this one is going to be very intriguing because Manchester City, I've got a bit of an issue with Brentford in recent years. They were a bit of a bogey side for Pep Guardiola's side. The Bees and Thomas Frank are very awkward, and especially under the lights on a Monday night game, this has all the makings of a potential banana skin for Manchester City and for Pep Guardiola. However, with the way that Brentford have been playing this season, even with Ivan Toney being back and finding the back of the net on his first couple of games back in the Premier League, I still think Manchester City will have enough about them to get the job done, especially when you consider the likes of Erling Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne are going to be back. Probably in the starting lineup. Obviously, they're managing Kevin De Bruyne's minutes, but obviously, since his return, he has obviously been exceptional. Really showing what City have been missing in that midfield, obviously, during his absence. Haaland's back as well, which only adds more positivity to the Manchester City camp. Like I say, Brentford can be difficult opposition. They can be extremely awkward, particularly when they are at home against some of the bigger opposition. But I think City will have enough about them to get the job done. I'm going for a 2-1 victory in favour of Manchester City. Could be more. I probably am being a little bit more lenient on Brentford. I'm obviously hoping and praying that Brentford get the job done and Brentford pull out a victory in their favour. But yeah, I'm leaning more towards City on this one, and I'm going to go with my head rather than my heart on this one. So City to win, unfortunately. But yeah. There we go. There you have it. City to win. They've got the better firepower. They've got the better players. They've got the match winners. They've got the squad. They've got the manager. They've got the game plan. They will get the victory, in my opinion. And finally, in what I believe to be the biggest game of this round of fixtures, the main event of this weekend's round of Premier League action. It comes from the Emirates Stadium. It is Arsenal taking on Liverpool. Huge game for your Sunday afternoon viewing between two top title contenders, you would imagine. I've gone with a 2-2 draw. I think both sides come into this game off the back of good performances midweek, good victories. Obviously, Arsenal got back to winning ways past couple of games. Liverpool have been going from strength to strength. There'll be a lot of emotion in this game. But I personally see these two teams cancelling each other out. And I think it's going to be a good... I think if this is a must... It's difficult to say as of right now. I think for Arsenal, they can't lose. They cannot lose. I think if they lose this game, I think it's not completely over and done with, but I think they are more out of it than they are in, if you know what I mean. I don't think there's going to be a long way back. I don't think for Arsenal, they cannot lose. For Liverpool, I know it's daft to say again, but it's another must not lose game for them. But at the same time, I feel like if Liverpool went there and they played for a draw, I'd snap your hand off right now. I'd snap your hand off for a 2-2 draw. I know that Liverpool have been playing exceptionally well in recent games, and I know that they've been dispatching teams left, right and centre, and they'll take huge confidence from that big 4-1 victory that they produced midweek against Chelsea. But going away to Arsenal, it just seems a typical Liverpool thing this season of going away to these big clubs and getting a point, or at the very least, making sure that you don't lose as the basis to build your game plan off. And Fergie did it often. Sir Alex Ferguson, of course, did it so many times during his reign at Manchester United that I feel like Jurgen Klopp will be saying the same thing. I think Liverpool have the players to launch counter-attack after counter-attack, and it's whether or not Arsenal can deal with it. Similar to the way that these two teams played earlier on this season when they met in the FA Cup. I feel like Arsenal will try and take the majority of possession. Liverpool will have the players to launch counter-attacks. Trent Alexander-Arnold may return in the midfield, I'm hoping, because obviously the way that Connor Bradley's been playing, I don't really see why you'd move him out the side right now. He's been playing exceptional. The likes of Alexis McAllister in that midfield has been brilliant. Joe Gomez on that left-hand side to maybe keep Bukayo Saka quiet. It's really going to be a very intriguing battle. There's so many great individual battles that you're going to get throughout the entirety of the pitch. Van Dijk against Gabriel Jesus, like I say, Gomez against Saka, Martinelli against either Trent or maybe Connor Bradley himself. You've got McAllister in there battling Declan Rice. You've got the likes of Darwin Núñez going up against Saliba. You've got Luis Diaz against Ben White. Zinchenko probably is probably looking at this game and thanking his lucky stars he's not against Mo Salah, but he's still got the likes of Diogo Jota to look at, or Darwin Núñez himself, or Luis Diaz, or Cody Gakpo. So there is a lot of intriguing battles right the way from back to front across the entirety of the pitch, and this is going to be an absolute classic of a game, I feel. Plenty of goals, like I say. If I am going to pick a winner, I'm leaning more towards Liverpool. Maybe that is a bit of favouritism there. Maybe that is me going more with my heart, so to speak. But at the same time, I do feel like with the way that Liverpool have been playing, they're in such good form right now. And we all know Diogo Jota loves a goal against Arsenal. So I'm expecting him to be on the score sheet this Sunday. Jota to get on the score sheet. I can't really pick a winner. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw. I think it's going to benefit Liverpool more than it will Arsenal in all due respect, but at the end of the day, with these two teams dropping points, it probably will benefit Manchester City should they, of course, take advantage of these two teams dropping points on Sunday when they obviously play on a Monday. Jota to score, but overall, a 2-2 draw is what I'm going with there. The points to be shared, but I am expecting a very good game indeed. But as I always say, these are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, but most of all, of course, predictions of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of the games coming up this weekend in another exciting round of Premier League action? Let me know your thoughts, your comments, opinions, but most of all, of course, this is a Premier League prediction show after all, so let me know your predictions down below in the comments section. Would love to hear from you all. Hit the like button on the way out if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new and want to see more content like this. Both things are always and forever greatly appreciated. And of course, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Premier League predictions video. Thanks everyone for stopping by and watching. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video. I'll see you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Have a good rest of your day. Enjoy the football. And I'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.